My name is Maddie Tan, and today I'm going to be talking about global markets and interdependence, the international soybean trade. But why are soybeans so important in America? Well, they're a major U.S. export crop, meaning that soybeans are one of the most important export crops in the United States as we speak. This connects directly to international relations because the U.S. depends on trade in other countries to sell huge amounts of soybeans. Another thing is that the key states are Iowa, Illinois, and Minnesota. These states produce huge amounts of soybeans each and every year. These states play an important role in the global economy because their crops are sold internationally. And on top of this, it supports the rural economy. The soybean industry supports many rural communities through farming, transportation, and processing jobs. The people that live in these states do depend on these jobs, and this directs directly to international relations. Changes in foreign trades and trade agreements can directly affect the people living in these areas. And, obviously, billions in export revenue. They bring in billions of dollars every single year to the United States. This shows how economic interdependence works in international relations. The U.S. relies on other countries to buy soybeans, while other countries rely on the United States for food and our agricultural products. But the U.S. position in global markets is also very important. We're a leading global exporter. The United States is one of the leading soybean exporters in the entire world. This gives the U.S. influence in the global trade and international markets, as what I had explained before. But we also compete with Brazil. We compete with them in the soybean sales, especially in China. This competition shows how international relations can, in fact, trade. For example, the U.S.-China trade war. China bought more soybeans from Brazil instead of the United States. And the strong infrastructure advantage. One advantage the United States has is a strong infrastructure, such as highways, railroads, and ports. These systems make it easier to move soybeans around the country and export them worldwide. Good infrastructure helps the U.S. stay competitive in global markets. But we are very reliant on foreign markets. As explained before, at the same time, the U.S. soybean industry depends heavily on foreign markets. Digging deeper, this means international events, trade agreements, and political conflicts can strongly affect American farmers and the economy. Governments play a major role in international trade by creating policies that support their economics and protect key industries. One example is farm subsidies, where U.S. government provides financial support to help farmers compete in global markets. Trade agreements are also important because they reduce barriers between countries. They increase exports and strengthen political relationships. Governments also use export regulations to control goods connected to national security and economic stability. During trade conflicts or economic downturns, governments may create support programs to protect both workers and businesses. Overall, trade policies show how economics and international relations are closely connected through both corporations and competitions. As mentioned, the U.S.-China trade war shows how international relations and economics are closely connected. In 2018, showed by the chart, the United States placed tariffs on Chinese goods, and China responded with tariffs on American products, such as soybeans. Tariffs are taxes on imports that governments use to protect industries or pressure other countries during disputes. Because China was a major buyer of the U.S. soybeans, exports dropped, and soybean prices declined, hurting many American farmers and businesses. The graph shows how unstable trade became during the conflict. In response, the U.S. government provided financial aid to the farmers that were affected by the trade war. This example demonstrates how political tensions between major powers can directly impact global trade, national economies, and everyday workers. It also shows that international trade can create both cooperation and conflict. But international trade is not only about buying and selling goods, but also about power and influence between countries. Agriculture can become a form of leverage because countries that control major food exports can influence other countries during trade disputes. The United States has a strong economic influence due to its large agricultural exports and global trade connections. When the U.S. uses tariffs or trade restrictions, it can affect economies worldwide. China has responded to reducing dependence on U.S. products and increasing trade with countries like Brazil for soybeans. This gives China more flexibility and reduces the U.S. influence over its food supply. Overall, this shows how trade is closely connected to international relations, competition, and national security. Lastly, U.S. agriculture has a major environmental impact because of large-scale and intensive farming practices. Farmers use machinery, fertilizers, and irrigation systems that increase production and compete in global markets. But these methods can also create environmental problems. One major concern is soil and water quality. Overuse of fertilizers can damage soil and pollute rivers and groundwater. Climate change also puts pressure on water supplies, especially in areas affected by drought. The United States has also expanded biofuel production, such as corn-based ethanol, to reduce dependence on foreign oil. This connects agriculture to energy security and international politics. To address these issues, the U.S. has invented sustainability efforts like precision agriculture and smart technology to reduce waste, conserve water, and improve long-term environmental stability. So, in conclusion, the United States remains one of the world's leading agricultural suppliers and plays an important role in the global economy. American agriculture affects international trade, food security, and political relationships around the world. Trade and policies are closely connected because of countries that use tariffs, exports, and trade agreements to protect their interests and gain influence. This is clear in the relationship between the United States and China, where both countries compete but also depend on each other through global trade. This interdependence creates both cooperation and conflict, as changes in trade policies can impact farmers, businesses, and consumers worldwide. In the future, global agriculture will continue to be shaped by competition, technology, sustainability, and international cooperation.